Hey flooring retailers, welcome to Flooring 101 and the free course in our school community. I'm Jason Jabbar and I've spent the last 25 years in the retail flooring business, and in the last 10 years I've been the CEO of Jabbar's Carpet Outlet located in Wichita, Kansas. We're one of the largest independently owned flooring retailers in the United States. And if you're a flooring business and you're a retail flooring business and you're experiencing issues or you're thinking about getting into the retail flooring business, then this course is for you and it's absolutely free. So watch all the videos, and by the end of this course you're going to know all of the ins and outs of the flooring business, and we'll even have a free 90-day roadmap to launch your flooring business. So today we'll be discussing the free course and specifically the retail flooring reality check. So we're going to check you out and give you some real what the reality is about getting into the retail flooring business. We're going to tell you the truth about retail flooring. We're going to tell you a little bit why most floors struggle, kind of look at that independent, that installer versus retailer owner mindset, and then we're going to talk about the 5 pillars of a profitable store. And if you're able to concrete and cement those 5 pillars, we know that your flooring business is going to make you profitable. So this video should give you a little bit of clarity. It should be a start of a blueprint and should give you some mistakes to avoid. And at the end of the video, please let us know what you liked and what questions you might have. Remember to click on the accountability post below at the bottom of this course and do a quick check-in on the number 2 video. And remember, you can follow us on all of your favorite podcast locations, as well as Substack, Reddit, Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Everything is under the Flooring 101 banner. So plus, if you want to get some real one-on-one time and you really want us to dive deeper into your business specifically, if this is too much of an overview for you, you're not finding the exact things that you're needing that would help you to fix your business or to create your retail flooring business that you want to, and you want us to help better your business, you can go to jasonjabbar.com. That's JASON JABARA, jasonjabbar.com, and you can book a free call and you and I can talk one-on-one and see if there's a way that we can help you to better establish your business on a one-on-one perspective. So, over the next several videos in this free course, the transformation that we would like to see moving forward is we want to take you from I don't know where to start to I have a clear, confident plan moving forward. That's a transformation over the next 8 videos in this free course that we want to have. I don't know where to start. I know exactly where I'm going. So let's get into it. And the first thing we want to talk about is the truth about retail flooring and some of the things that they may not necessarily tell you, or things that you may not necessarily know. Maybe you're buying a business, you think it's a good investment, you're an installer, and you're thinking about opening up your own retail store. So here's a few of the things, a few truths about the retail flooring business. And the first one is that this is a systems business. It's not a products business. We all sell the same thing. The labels may be different, the prices may be different, but the manufacturers, the distributors, it's all the same stuff. The box may be different. We all sell carpet, wood, tile, laminate, vinyl, plank, varying degrees of the same thing, 100 shades of one thing. So it's really the systems that make you successful and not the products. Nobody is buying a product from you because of the label or the branding on that product. They're buying it because Jabbar's Carpet Outlet is a well-known business and an established business, and they trust you, and it's because they have the systems in place to make it successful. Operations, sales, marketing, those systems are in place, and that's what makes you a successful business, not the products that you're selling. Another truth about the revenue, the retail business, is that the revenue that you make can really hide your unprofitability. You can generate some monster numbers. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're making any money. You may have 5 stores, and the guy that has one small store with 5 employees is making more money than you because he's got his systems in place, or she's got the right team in place in order to make them successful. So, that revenue, just because you're doing numbers, can hide a lot of the unprofitability, and that's something that you have to figure out if you're wanting to open up a retail flooring store. Third truth we want to talk about is that Margins are won and lost in the processes. And you have to have your SOPs, your standard operating procedures in place. You have to have your checks and balances in place. That's the only way that you're going to save your margins. And, the retail flooring business really lives within 4 to 5%. After you sell it, after you take out the cost of goods, after you take out the freight charges, after you take out what you're paying your installers, after you take out what you're paying your RSAs, you take out the lights, you take out the square footage that is taking up for their building, you take out the overhead, that 4 or 5% margin is where you're going to live in. And the only way to win on that battle is to make sure that you have the correct processes in place. And then lastly would be that the complexity of your business is going to increase the speed of your business if you don't have any structure in place. The bigger you get, the faster it moves. And as it increases in speed, if you don't have the structures in place to be successful, you're going to run into some issues. And these truths are something that you're not always going to hear. They're always going to tell you about the sunny things. They're going to tell you how much money they made. They're going to tell you how big their truck is. They're going to tell you how big their warehouse is. But if you don't have the systems in place, if you don't have your margins set, if you don't have your structures really set when you open your business, and if you don't have everything aligned when you start, the truth is you're not going to have a very successful business. So those are just a few of the truths about the retail flooring business. The second reality check that we kind of want to discuss is why most stores struggle. And they struggle for a couple of reasons. The first is that they don't have a defined sales process. Whether you're doing the sales or whether you've hired salespeople, when you are training them, you need to make sure that you have a documented sales process, whether it's a 5-step greeting to close, whether you want them to do it in a certain order. Make sure it's written down. Make sure it's in your handbook. Make sure that you have a handbook that goes over these processes of how sales are done from the point at which a customer walks into your store or makes contact with you via email or clicks on a link or a coupon on your website to the point at which it's installed and you've collected the money and that sale is closed. That entire pipeline of processes from beginning to end needs to be defined. And if it's not, you're going to struggle as a retailer. The second area that retailers often struggle in is having really weak margin discipline. If you give too many discounts to your buddy, if you're price matching online, if you're giving away free installation, that is going to erode your margins. And the weaker that your margin discipline is, the more it's going to cut into your profits. And we don't want to lose customers. We don't want to turn people away. We don't want them to buy from somebody else. But you've really got to stick to your guns. And if you don't, if you have a weak margin discipline, you're going to struggle as a retailer. The third thing that often a lot of time businesses struggle with is poor vendor terms. So, when you just start off as a business, it's going to be difficult to get long terms with your vendors. So you want to make sure that you really work on those relationships, whether that's taking on their displays or buying into a key product. The longer that you can get your terms extended, 30, 60, 90, 1 year, the more that you're able to keep that cash in your pocket and grow it on your own before you have to cycle it back out. Making sure that you have good vendor terms with your distributors and manufacturers is key to the success of your business, especially if you're launching a brand new business. If you're buying into an existing business, some of that stuff is already going to be taken care of. But if you're buying into a business, if you're starting from scratch, you're going to be new to a lot of these vendors. So you really need to sit down and have those conversations with your sales reps and your distributor reps and figuring out which of those companies works best for you and for your model moving forward, because poor vendor terms is just setting yourself up for failure. It's something that stores that struggle really deal with. The fourth item, an area that most stores struggle in, is going to be inconsistent marketing. you need to be sending the same message, and it needs to be across all of your marketing platforms. So whether you're doing commercials or magazines, radio, your website, your SEO, your PPC, all of your socials, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Reddit, Substack, all of those different areas where you're going to market your business. Maybe you're marketing just to interior decorators or property management or new construction or builders. Wherever you're going to market, that message needs to be consistent across all of your channels. Your motto, your values, your slogan, your catchphrases, having consistent marketing, having a blueprint. You should be marketing out a year in advance. Now, that doesn't mean buying ad space a year in advance, but you should know what you're going to be doing. If it's April, you should already know what you're going to be doing in May, June, and July. That should already be, budgeted out. You should know, this month it's going to be spring is green, and in May we're going to do a big Mother's Day thing, and in June we're going to do Father's Day, and in July we're going to have a 4th of July sale. All that should be planned out, and the messaging should be consistent. For Jabbar's, it's sales, service, and selection. It's flooring for everybody. Every day is a savings day. Whatever your catchphrase is, that marketing needs to be consistent. And if you don't have consistent marketing, if you're all over the place, if you're changing your marketing, on a monthly basis, weekly basis, just trying to find your niche, you're going to struggle as a business. And then the last area that a lot of new store owners struggle in, and it's it happens all the time, is owner overload. A lot of times when you're starting a retail business, maybe you came from an installation background and decided to open a business. Maybe you were a sales rep and decided to go into business for your own. But you may not start off with a lot of people when you are creating your flooring business from scratch, and that's okay. But the more successful you are, you need to start giving away some of those burdens to other people. Hiring a sales manager, hiring a couple RSAs, hiring an operations manager, so that you're not overloaded as an owner. Your job as an owner is to steer the ship, but you've got to let the navigator do their job. You've got to let the driver do their job. Everybody should have a job, and you need to allow them to do that job so that you're not doing everything. Because if you overload yourself with all of the work, if you're doing the scheduling and the estimating and the figuring, and you're doing the sales and you're ordering all the jobs, and then maybe you're still installing on the side as well, you're going to get burnt out. Things are going to fall through the crack. You're not going to get to everything. One job may be successful, another job you've got to put off for 3 weeks, and you've got an unhappy customer. So you have to make sure that you haven't overloaded yourself as the owner. So a few of the things that you need to keep in mind when opening up a retail flooring store: owner overload, inconsistent marketing, poor vendor terms, weak margin discipline, and not having designed a defined sales process. And if you can keep those 5 things in check, you're not going to struggle. Another reality of a retail flooring store owner, a reality check that you have to keep in mind, is the idea of the installer versus the retail owner mindset. A lot of you that are coming into this industry and starting your own business, maybe you were a general contractor, you're like, hey, flooring sells really good, I should get into the flooring business. Or you were an installer, you're like, I'm tired of being on my knees, maybe I should open up my own store. And all those things are great, but you've got to make a mental switch from being an installer to now you are a retail owner. You are not just in charge of the installation aspect of those jobs, you are in charge of all aspects of those jobs. And you gotta have to trade off your skills as an installer with the strategy that you need to create as this new owner. And hopefully this free course helps you out. If you get all the way through this free course, you get through all things, we're going to give you a 90-day roadmap, exactly how to plan out your new business, and it should help with that installer versus retailer mindset. So craftsmanship versus cash flow, you want it to be perfect, but you got to bring the money in, and making sure that you're working in your business versus working on your business. Everybody can work in the business, but you need to work on the business in order to make it successful. You need to think like a retailer and not think like an installer. It's time to hang up one hat and put the other hat on. So those are just a couple of things to keep in mind when we're talking about the difference between an installer and a retailer owner mindset. And if you can get that fixed, you're going to be a successful retail owner. Lastly, most importantly, are the 5 pillars of a profitable store. Now, we've told you the truths about retail flooring. We've told you a number of different scenarios of why retail stores struggle, and we've made you aware of kind of switching from that installer to that retail owner mindset. If you can get down the 5 pillars and make them concrete and make them the foundation of your retail flooring business moving forward, you're going to have a successful business and you're going to be a successful retail flooring store owner. The first one is financial control. And it's about having money, it's about cash flow, but it's also the entire financial system, making sure that you have a good ERP and accounting software system, whether it's Rollmaster or Q-Floors or RFMS. There's 100 of them out there. Interview them all, figure out which one best fits your business that you're creating. We're going to talk about choosing your business model in the next course. But having those finances under control, your costs, your margins, your month-end closing, your revenue, your gross profits, we'll talk about all those later. But if you can get those finances under control and you can get that pillar solidified, you're that much further along in the process of creating a profitable store. The second pillar is having a good sales system. Again, we talked about it earlier about when you're hiring RSAs and you're making sales, to make sure that system is in place from the point of contact, the initial point of contact with the customer, whether it's in the store, on the phone, online, through a coupon, to the point at which that installation is finished, you've collected the money and you've job costed the ticket and closed out the ticket. That system needs to be completely thought out. Every step of the way, every pipeline they're moved, every touch point that they have. If you have that sales system down, however you decide to design it, we'll talk about sales systems, the specific types of them in later videos. But if that sales system is down and you're teaching it to every RSA that you hire and you're emphasizing it and you're training on it, you're going to be successful. And that goes in hand with the third pillar, which is your operational system. And when I think about the operational system, I really think of the back of the house. The sales system is the front of the house. They're the touch point, the initial contact with the customer. They're your RSAs, they're your estimators, they're your concierge service, they're your marketing. That's your front of the house. Your back of the house is your operational systems. That's your warehouse, your operations manager, your customer service manager, your installation manager, all those people that take care of your customer once it leaves the door to be installed. Those are just as important, because the initial contact gives the first impression, but the final contact, when that final piece is stretched against the back of the wall and the last piece of furniture is put in, when the last board is tacked in and they put the washer and dryer back into the area, that final touch point, that lasting impact, is what decides whether you've got a customer for life or you've got to spend 5x the money to replace that customer because something went wrong. And making sure those operations are set, how to load, how to unload, how to do cuts, how to get them on the job, acclimation. There's a variety of different products out there. You need a system for all of that. But making sure that back of the house, that pillar is concrete, and building a base will allow you to be a profitable store. The fourth marketing pillar is the marketing engine. We talked about that before. If you can get that marketing pillar, that engine, all revved in the same direction, moving the same direction every month toward a focus point for the company, you're going to be successful. And that means creating a year-long marketing calendar, a marketing budget, figuring out what you're going to spend. Most people are in that 3.5% to 5% revenue spend on marketing in order to keep customers coming in order to keep those leads coming in. And again, where you spend your money, a lot of that's going to be dependent upon where your business is, or your rural area, or in a city area. Do you have a lot of competition, little competition? What are the costs of TV versus radio? How much do you want to spend on PPC and ads? Maybe you just have a really great social person. Social is free. Pounce on it. It doesn't cost anything to make TikToks and Instagram videos and reels. That stuff is free. Find an 18 to 25-year-old that you can pay 16 to 18 bucks an hour and give them free reign of your store. Let them set up all your accounts. Have the same thing for, Bill's Flooring World. Every single thing. Facebook, Instagram, Substack, TikTok, but have a plan and stick with that plan. And if that plan is in place, if your marketing engine is revved in the right direction and you've got that pillar solidified, you're going to be a profitable store. The last pillar of success is leadership and scale. And as a retail flooring store owner, it begins and ends with you, and your leadership is going to be noticeable to your employees, the people that you work with, how you deal with issues, how you function with your team, how you've designed your team is really an important pillar of having a successful flooring business. Making sure that you have weekly meetings, making sure that you have a handbook, making sure that you do yearly or biannual reviews of your employees, making sure that they have a solid compensation package to keep high performers and good earners. How you lead will allow you to scale your business, evolve your business, grow your business in the way that you see fit. And if you're not able to lead this team, that's a big difference between a successful flooring retailer and one who's really going to struggle. So, those 5 pillars, if you can get them solidified, your financial control, your sales system, your operation system, your marketing engine, and your leadership are all going to be things that if you can get those pillars solidified and build that base, you're going to have a lot better chance of being a successful retailer. So, I know this is just an introduction. The honest, true reality of what you're getting yourself in for, it's not for the faint of heart. And like anything, you can't be successful if you're half in. So, hopefully we've given you a good blueprint so far, a good introduction, the truth about retail flooring, why stores struggle, the installer versus, retail owner mindset, and then those 5 pillars for a profitable flooring store. So, be sure to click on the accountability post below and do a quick check-in. If you're interested in moving beyond this free course, simply click on the book a call to learn about our VIP and premium plan options, or go to jasonjabbar.com. Otherwise, continue through the free course, grow your business, and I'll see you at the next video.